Episode 3, Fairness is Gone, the mid-season finale. We see a man in the woods wearing a green jacket. He's aimlessly walking and he takes out a few of the dead, but then he notices some arms and legs just sitting there, which lets this man know somebody has obviously been in this area recently. But as he keeps looking at the arms and legs on the ground, a man comes up behind him and slits his throat. It's Dave, and Dave kills this man in a green jacket and says, "There's borders, son, and unfortunately for you, you crossed it." Three days earlier, before Sydney ran into Lincoln and Tom, Sydney and her sister, Emma, are eating some canned foods around a fire. Emma says, "I've been thinking about making a run into the city soon." Sydney says, "It's too dangerous, sis. It doesn't matter if it's been almost a year of this mess. We'd be taking a chance when we don't need to be." Then suddenly, a man named Ethan comes out of the woods and points a gun towards Sydney and Emma and tells them to put their weapons on the ground. Sydney tells Emma to just do it, but after Emma drops her weapons, he tells them, "All right now, you crossed our borders." And Sydney tries to apologize to Ethan and tries to leave with her sister. He tells Sydney, "No, once you enter, you don't ever leave." Then when Ethan approaches them, Sydney knocks the gun out of his hand. Sydney tackles him to the ground and tells her sister to run. Emma runs into the woods as far as she can. Sydney tells Ethan, "I didn't want things to come to this, but now that it's happening, there's no turning back." Sydney takes her knife off the ground and stabs him in the neck. Currently, we see Dave and he walks up to Billy, missing a leg, and tells him, "Your friends are going to come looking for you." And Billy says, he's going to kill him. Dave laughs at this and says, "Your friends are as good as dead. And if they are, you're definitely a dead man." And Dave walks off. Billy has a ringing in his ear, and he's in so much pain that he screams. Dave looks at his fighters. They all have 2 swords each, with masks on, and Dave tells them to all get ready for when Lincoln shows up. Lincoln, Tom, and Sydney are parked on the side of the road, and they're arguing about what to do. Sydney wants to find her sister, Tom wants to find Billy and try to find this man that they just talked to on the walkie-talkie. And Lincoln thinks they shouldn't just come at this guy because they don't know their enemy. But Tom makes a good point. What else are we gonna do? Sydney's sister is just gone, and Billy could be dead. We are going to find out what we're dealing with. And Lincoln says, "All right." And they drive down the road, and they are going to try to find out more answers. A few hours later, Dave meets up with 8 other guys, and he says, "All right, this is good. This should definitely go smoothly." Dave tells 2 of the guys, he says, "When they come, you know what to do." The 2 guys nod. Lincoln, Tom, and Sydney are driving on the road, and then suddenly, 4 of Dave's guys shoot at the car, and Lincoln tries to turn left, but unfortunately they go off the road and down a steep hill, and they crash their car, and their car flips a few times, and we cut to black. Three days earlier, before Sydney ran into Lincoln and Tom. Sydney is running in the woods at night, calling out for her sister, but Emma is gone, and she can't find her. She starts crying, and then a few of the deadheads try to come at her, and she lets all of her anger out on the dead. Currently, Sydney wakes up in the flipped over car and she asks if Lincoln and Tom are okay, and Tom says they are. But then as they stumble out of the flipped over car, they notice 8 men with swords running down the hill and running towards them. And Sydney is able to get out of the flipped over car. She notices these men coming for them. However, Lincoln and Tom are still trapped inside the car and they're trying to make their way out. They don't have enough time before the men make it over to the flipped over car. Sydney stands her ground and she's ready to fight the 8 men that are coming at her. Lincoln and Tom are still trying to get out of the car, but they don't have enough time, and the men try to attack. Sydney takes out her shotgun, and she starts shooting them. She kills 5 of them with a shotgun, but then she runs out of ammunition. But the other 3 guys tackle her down, and then the 3 guys have her down on the ground. And then a machete goes through one of the guys' heads. It's Lincoln. The last 2 guys try to surrender to Lincoln, but then out of nowhere, Tom steps out of the car and shoots the last 2 guys and kills them. Then Lincoln asks both Tom and Sydney if they're okay. They both say they are, and then Sydney speaks up and tells them that they have no more vehicle. And Tom says, "So what the hell are we supposed to do?" And Lincoln tells them, "We need to stay off the roads now because these people know where we're going after them." And they walk into the woods on foot. Three days earlier, before Sydney ran into Lincoln and Tom, Sydney is walking in the woods. It is now the next day and she comes across this cabin. She clears it and she searches the cabin while she's looking for her sister. But she isn't there, and Sydney decides that she's going to stay there in the hopes that her sister could show up. Currently, as the 3 of them walk into the woods, they're talking about how these people are never going to stop trying to kill us. They obviously want something and it's pretty obvious. So we have to keep fighting until we eventually kill them all, and they all agree on this idea. Then suddenly, a man falls from a tree, and he's brutally being hung up this tree. And when Lincoln, Tom, and Sydney look up, they see the guy's face, and it's Billy. Tom watches him get killed in front of him, and then someone above this tree cuts the rope, and dead Billy falls to the ground in front of them. Tom falls to his knees and starts breaking down. Lincoln and Sydney look angry, and then the man that hung Billy comes down from the tree, and it's Dave. He tells Lincoln, Sydney, and Tom, "I told him. And now I'm telling you, this isn't your world anymore. It's ours." Dave smirks, and Lincoln stares at Dave in his eyes with pure anger. But then, Lincoln recognizes him.